Welcome, everybody, to another episode of the Ride Home Rants podcast. This is, as always, your host, Mike Bono. I have another great guest for us today, a woman who is not only an English teacher, but she's also an actress, too, as well. I've seen her in probably many things, but I have Ashlie Lawson joining the show today. Ashlie, thank you for joining the show.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Not a problem. Glad you're excited. So what led you into, well, one, teaching in English and then trying to transition to the role of actress?
So I have actually always been an actress. Since I was probably late elementary school, early middle school is when I really knew that's what I wanted to do. Unfortunately, nobody in my family has been really into the arts or anything like that. Not that I don't have creative people in my family, but nobody else that really wanted to genuinely pursue it. So my mother, bless her heart, did the best she could trying to figure out different avenues. And at that time there was just books, the internet was just up and coming. So they didn't have access to everything we have access to these days. And so she tried as best she could and just ended up kind of falling into that safety thing and going to college and getting a degree in English education. I was originally a broadcast journalism major, but was 0% interested in all of the computer classes I had to take for that. So it quickly became a English major. And then at some point I had to decide what I was going to do with an English major. And honestly, teaching was the easiest option. Um, yeah, I love the kids in teaching, but that's about all I can say.
I, I don't mean to have this surprised look on my face, but you've basically just described me. Um, being a comedian, like it was the weirdest thing telling my parents, like, hey, I'm gonna do comedy. And they're just the look on their face was just like, no, you're not gonna do that. That's nobody in our family does that. You're
Yeah.
My dad's a steel mill worker. My mom's a nurse. My grandparents came from immigrant parents and everything like that. So everything was just blue collar. You need to work. You're going to college. You're going to get a degree. I got my degree in broadcast journalism, and, and
Oh, you did better than I did then.
I would love to say I did. I'm not in broadcast journalism at all. Other than this podcast is the only thing that I'm using my degree for. I've done sales jobs, but mostly comedy too as well. But just when you said, oh, it was broadcast journalism, nobody in my family's artsy and nobody likes entertainment. And I was like, wow, this is like the female version of me right now. And
Yes, yes. Fortunately, my family was very supportive. They didn't know how to help. Like help me pursue my dreams kind of thing. And when I was wanting to do it, it was still that thing of you absolutely had to either go to California or New York. So there was like this impeding deadline of when I was going to leave. And I'm originally from Memphis, Tennessee, and I'm here in the Dallas Fort Worth area now. And so I left anyway, but we're a lot more blessed now than back then because you can, with self tapes and everything, and even with COVID, everything has pretty much moved to self tapes. You can audition for anything, anywhere. So it's
absolutely.
definitely a lot easier now, I think, than what it used to be.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I follow a lady on Facebook. She does, like, I don't say low budget movies, but she helps cast for low budget movies, and actually had me audition for a couple just filming in my living room for
Yeah.
stuff. And it's like, wow, you don't need to be in New York or LA or just some big
Mm.
major city anymore. COVID has kind of put an end to that, really needing to be in that big city. And it was weird to me at first because they just emailed me the lines they wanted me to say, and I was like, all right, they know I'm a comedian. They sent me like the most serious role possible. How in the hell am I going to be able to to do this? But obviously, I didn't get the part. But I mean, it was still fun. But it was weird auditioning to myself, I would say, because
Yeah,
it was just me filming on my phone in my living room. Like it was
yeah. Self-taping is an art in and of itself. I mean, there's people, classes even that are specifically for learning how to self-tape. It has its own setup and it's really kind of its own art and its own science in and of itself. Uh, and it's interesting. I find that uh, even though it is its own art and its own science, there's still no correct formula to it, for lack of a better way to phrase it, because depending on who you talk to, some people will say, slate at the beginning. Other people will tell you slate at the end. Some people will say, give you one frame of reference, like where to film yourself from, and other people will give you a different one. Some people will tell you your whole body needs to be in your slate. Other people will tell you, no, you just need to keep it the frame that the casting director is looking for. And so it's just like, I eventually got to, in the whole idea of whether or not to use props and things like that. And I'm just like, you know what? I am going to stop thinking so hard about this self tape and trying to get it perfect as far as all of the rules that are not even real because they're not even written anywhere, and just do whatever feels right. So if that means I need a pad of paper and a pen to make it look like I'm being a receptionist, then that's what I'm going to do. And if it keeps me from getting the part, then that's that. But I know that I'm sending in an audition that I feel confident about. So
right. Yeah, it's probably my downfall because I was not confident in what I sent in. I was like, there's no way they're gonna accept this. I don't know. I mean, they told me to play an alcoholic basically, and I was
yeah,
like, okay. I mean, I can stumble around a little bit, and had a beer in my hand, and they were like, just go with it. We're looking maybe for extras too that we could add into it, and you'll play two roles. I was like, so wait, you want me for two roles? Like, what do you want me to do? Just tell me what to do. And so I read the lines that they gave me, and it was trying to pick up women. And I've been married for 5 years. I don't know how to do that anymore. So it's just, I don't know what I was doing. And it's just like, yeah, this is what I used to do, I guess. I don't know. And apparently it worked because I'm married. So I don't know.
yeah.
It's
Well, I look back at some of my very first self tapes for things that I submitted in comparison to things that I've done more recently when I've kind of learned the tricks of the trade. And I'm like, ooh, yeah, I know why I didn't book that.
there was one movie. They sent me the roles, and I was just like, I don't think I could do this. There's no way I could actually say that I was in this movie that they're filming, and they've already started filming for it, and it's the name of the movie. I mean, I say it all the time, but it was called Fuck Off, but it was spelled Fakkoff in one word. And I asked them, I was just like, what's the name of the movie? And they phonetically sent it to me. I was like, oh, okay, yeah, no, I'm not doing that. I can't in good conscience say I was in the movie. Fuck off. So like,
Yeah,
just
yeah.
so I saw where, I mean, you said you were at a very young age getting into acting, and you actually done some theater work too as well, correct? Or you started in
I've done a
theatrical?
little bit of theater. That's where I started, but I mean, that's not really where my passion is. But it was fun while I was doing it. That was kind of my teenage years were spent in the theater. Did a lot of fun things. I got to play the Red Fairy in Sleeping Beauty, so I've been a bad guy, and that was fun. Um, Played the Queen in Many Moons. That was also really fun. I loved the dress that the costume department gave me for that. It made me feel quite regal. But yeah, I've done some fun stuff in the theater. Learned a lot of good things being in there, but film and television is for sure where my passion is. So that's kind of where I stay these days.
That's yeah, I was gonna say I was if you were still into it, where is there even a theater that's putting on plays? I have no idea where there would even be one, but it seems like everything that can be on stage is now going over to either a TV series or a movie about that or something along those lines. Are you starting to get
Yeah,
the feel?
yeah. Um, I feel like it's been a thing kind of happening for years with taking Broadway plays and putting them on TV. But to me, as somebody that enjoys being in the theater, there's just there's something magical about being in a theater that you can't get from a movie. There's a lot more that you have access to with it being in a movie as far as set work, special effects, all of that fun stuff. But taking it back old school and just watching it in the theater is there's just something about it that brings me a different kind of joy than sitting and watching it on a TV screen.
Yeah, I've seen my fair share of plays. I've actually been in one in college. One of my fraternity brothers basically conned me into being in one of his plays he was producing, and I had fun with it. I mean, I got to play a soldier for the play Dog Sees God. And it started with you're not going to have any lines. It just needs soldiers to stand there. And then when the dancers come out, it basically just needs you to pick them up and move them over to the other side of stage. That's all you're going to have to do. And then it started adding lines into it. I was like, dude, did you really just con me into being in a play? Like, all right,
You can't take it back. You already said yes.
yeah, and it was mainly because I needed him to help me type a paper because I had a cast on my hand. I already had it written out,
Ah,
and he was like, "I'll type this for you if you'll just audition." And I mean, he goes, "I guarantee you probably won't even get the part." All right, yeah, I'll audition. Sure, go ahead, put it, type away, my man. And I showed up the next day, and he just started giving me the role. I was like, "All right, so what do you want me to do for the audition?" He goes, "Oh no, you're already in." I was like, "You mother!" Oh, all right, I'm
he
doing it.
got you.
He
He
did.
got you.
He played me so hard, and I was like, "All right, that's one. You get one. I'll give you one." And from then on out, he was like, "Hey," and I would just go, "Nope," to whatever you're about to say next. No,
Yeah.
nope. Fool
Yeah.
me once, you know. But
Oh my goodness.
I had fun with it, and I think that's kind of what got me started into wanting to be a comedian because I had never really wanted to do it. Everyone was trying to tell me that you should be a comedian, dude. You should go up and do stand up. You should do this. You're funny. You're so funny. You're hysterical. Just get on stage. And I was like, you have no idea the crippling stage fright that I have when I first started out, that it was just to the point where I would look at the stage and physically start to get nauseous, not even being up there, just knowing I was going up there made me so sick. And it's weird now to see, like, oh my God, I was so nervous. Like, I still have my very first set on my phone, and I'd watch it from time to time. I was like, did I ever stand still? Like, I just paced the whole time I was on stage, and I knew it was because nerves and my legs were shaking, and I didn't want
Yeah.
to be.
That energy had to get out somewhere.
And yeah, and to the point now where I still move around a lot on stage, but it's more for my act and for my sets that it helps the jokes, not because I have to move because my legs are shaking. But it was just weird to me, like, just seeing me from never thinking I'd be able to be on stage. And fast forward 9 years later, now it's just second nature for me to run on stage, grab the microphone, and just start talking to a room full of strangers. Did you
Yeah.
have anything like that when you were first? I know you were kind of in your teenage years, but when you first started getting into acting and everything like that, was there any type of stage fright or anything like that?
Absolutely. Especially in the theater, it was kind of, if you made it through that first night, that first performance, it was kind of steady going from there, at least for me. But when we were doing in-person auditions, or even sometimes here in the DFW area, they still will hold callbacks in person because they want to see who you are. They want to talk to you in person, get a feel for your personality. And I used to get very nervous about those kind of in-person things. But as I've sat in acting classes, I've learned that you are walking into that room because you've been invited to be there. Those people that are sitting in that room want to see you succeed. That's the reason that you're there. So it's like when there was that mindset shift of they are wanting me to be as successful as I'm looking to be, it kind of changed it into like you're going in there and these people hold your fate in their hands, to it being we're working as a team here to try to see if we can make this fit. And if not, maybe somewhere else down the line. But it just making that shift to it being a team effort helped a lot. And it used to happen sometimes with even self tapes at the beginning, because I'm like, again, going back to how I used to think about it of, oh, is this right? Is my framing right? Do they want to see my whole body? Just like all of this traffic in my brain, basically, that used to be really nerve wracking. And then when I was doing that, I wasn't giving my best foot forward in the actual audition because I was thinking about everything but the scene itself. So it's, yes, I used to. I've gotten better about it. I can't say that I'm completely cured of the stage fright, but it's definitely not as bad as it used to be.
Yeah, I mean, I still get a little bit of liquid courage in me when I go on stage. Not as much as I used to have to go on stage, but it's still there. But it's just it's a wild ride, I'll say, especially for me being a part-time comedian, part-time salesman too as well, and the differences between my day job and being on stage. And I'm sure it's the same for you, maybe not as much as me. And I get in trouble a lot at my day job because of my mouth, because the filter from your ear to your mouth is supposed to stop everything that comes into your head from coming out of your mouth is gone from 9 years of doing comedy. And it basically, if it pops into my head, it comes out of my mouth. And I gotta look at people and be like, I'm so sorry. I do comedy on the side, and sometimes I don't think before I speak. And yeah, that came out of my mouth, and I'm sorry. But just
Yeah.
some of the things, and like to the point where my manager actually came up to me one day and he goes, "Did you really say that to a customer?" And I was like, "Yeah, I did." That came out of my mouth, and I know you heard it. I saw you, and it still didn't stop it. It just, I don't know what happened. He goes, "Well, what did the customer do?" I went, "They bought a lot of stuff off of me, but it still didn't sound that professional. Thank God there was nobody higher than you here, because I would be in so much trouble if they heard that." But I always tell my manager too as well, because the way I got this job, it was weird because I'd worked there before under a different management team, and it was basically the reason I left. And I was just going in to pick up furniture that I had ordered, and they were desperate for people because of COVID. And
Yeah.
I'm in basketball shorts, a t-shirt, and this hat that says "Stupid Should Hurt" on it, which is part of my own merch line. And they were like, "Oh yeah, he'll probably take you back. He'll interview you right on the spot." I was like, "I don't think I'm in any sort of condition to be interviewed." And he just walks down. He goes, "Oh, hey, Michael, right? Yeah, come and sit down. Let's talk." And he interviewed me right then and there, and just, I was sweating because I was doing yard work too as well. I hadn't like shaved in like a month, so I had this big burly grizzly man beard, this hat on, and just street clothes. And he hired me on the spot. So who's really at fault here? Like, it's you knew right from the get-go what you were getting into, and I haven't changed. And like, I refuse to change who I am as a person, for anything, for a role or like that. Or even when they're like, "All right, we need a comedian for this, but you can't do jokes about X, Y, and Z." I was like, "Well, there's my entire act, so no, I'm
Yeah.
gonna write new jokes just for one set that's 10 minutes. I'm not gonna do that, because I've paved my way doing these jokes, and they're still getting laughs. So who's
Yeah.
really at fault here?"
Let's let's not try to fix what's not broken.
Right. And yeah, I'm always of the mindset of it, if it's not broke, why are we trying to fix it?
Yeah.
Why fix what?
Trying to reinvent the wheel. In my day job, that's I find there's a lot of that, of trying to reinvent the wheel. Like, why? Just why?
Let's just talk about Common Core math for a minute. Like, why? Because that's
No, we don't like math. We've already
yeah.
discussed
I
this.
hate math. I've learned through COVID fifth grade math, and I am out being able to help my son with anything. And he brought me something the other day, and he's in seventh grade now. And I was just like, dude, go ask your mother. I have no idea.
Yeah.
She's she's way smarter than me. I do comedy, man. You know what I do for a living. Like, go ask your mother. You sure you know? And if it's English, forget it. My wife is forever correcting my grammar, and it is brutally honest too as well, which is I need it because I was born and raised in West Virginia, and the word ain't is just built into my psyche, and it makes her skin crawl when she hears the word ain't, and I don't even realize I'm saying it half the time, to the point where she'll look at me and go, "What did you say?" And I'll say it again. Oh, I ain't did nothing, and she was, "What?" And she'll keep saying what until I realize what I'm saying. Oh, I didn't do anything. Like, and it just, ah. Do you
See,
have that being an English?
I'm so here's a funny thing about the word ain't. So I, like I mentioned earlier, I'm from Tennessee, and so it's a pretty common word that's used there as well. But when I was growing up, we grew up around my mom's side of the family, and I have twin female cousins that are 9 months older than me. So we basically grew up being sisters, essentially. And we would try to say the word ain't, and our moms would always tell us that it wasn't a word. So it quickly got the habit out of us, because eventually we just quit even like trying to say it, because we knew we could have said anything else and it would have probably gone right over their head, but for some reason that was a trigger word for them. And they're both from Oklahoma, so I don't know if that was just like something that really irritated them when they were growing up. But yeah, we were not allowed to say it because to our mothers that was not a word. But to answer your question, I find I can deal with a lot of the like short terminology, all of the acronyms for how things are, if I know what they mean, which I know most of them. But I find that texting and text language is messing up writers, because it's funny you asked me this, because I was just grading some persuasive essays last week, and I cannot tell you how many kids turned in essays that were just one long giant run-on sentence. And I'm like, what are you trying to say? I don't like, I didn't even know where one sentence was trying to be ended and another one was trying to begin, because there's no capital letters. And I'm like, finally, I just got done with it. And if I saw one big long run on sentence or no capitalization, I just put in the feedback. I'm like, this is one long run on sentence. Fix it if you want me to grade it. Because I'm not going to sit here and try to figure that out.
That yeah, the texting world is it's going to be the death of humanity. I'm just gonna be blunt with that because
Yes, I agree with you.
for every point of the day, my son is always just in his phone, just and it's yeah. Yeah. I was like, dude, just put your phone down for a second and have a conversation with somebody. And I can't, he's a 12-year-old and he's almost a teenager. And I'm not ready for a teenager. I'm just going to be honest, because he's the size of a grown man to boot. It doesn't help anything. I mean, he's 12 and he's 5'8", 205 pounds.
Nice.
He's a big kid. And it's just like, dude, you're getting too big for me now. Like, just do what you're told, please, so we don't have to embarrass one another. And
Yeah.
it just, I'm done. I'm out. Just go to your room. Just
Well, I don't know. I don't know what's worse, because I teach English, and I kind of have a pet peeve about writing. When I'm texting people, I always spell out words the way they're supposed to be. Like, I don't use acronyms or shortened versions of words, things like that. And what cracks me up is I'll be texting my mom or something, and she'll text me back and say things like IDK and stuff like that. And I'm like, who are you? Spell the word out. Just spell it out.
I used to do that to my wife all the time, but I'd be the one sending the shorthand. And when I would send IDK, she would literally just reply back, my BFF Jill. That old IDK, my BFF Jill. Like she would just reply back to that till I actually spelled out the words. And it's to the point now where I can't handle the texting and the technology and everything like that. I feel like it's just going over my head. And I went to school and I have basically a technology degree, and it's too much. And so going back to it now, with your acting, do you have anything coming up that you want to talk about that you're allowed to talk about? Any roles that are coming up for you?
I do. So, a few of them I can't say too much about because they're in post-production. So one of those is a supporting role that I had in my first feature film. That's very exciting. And it is going to be sent to film festivals. As I said, it's in post-production right now. We wrapped at the end of August / beginning of September. Another short film that I was a part of that was really fun, and I enjoyed seeing the project when she sent it to me for my footage. It ended up turning out beautifully, but it's called Not Nothing, and it made its debut premiere at a women's film festival in Beverly Hills at the end of September. And that was very exciting for her. I really excited, like I said, to see it, to see how it turned out. And that the girl that starred in it, or I'm sorry, the woman that starred in it is the same person that wrote it. And I was so glad that it came out how her vision wanted it to. And I have another thing that I filmed a trailer for that's going to be a series that's currently out being pitched to streaming services and networks. So hopefully going to be getting some good information about that. And then other than that, I just this past weekend wrapped doing another short film with the option to be a feature. That's we have a film competition here in the DFW area, and I'm actually had the female lead in the one we just wrapped. And then based on that, one of the directors that's directing another project in the film competition was the male lead in it. And he actually asked me if I would play one of the roles in his film as well. So it's always fun to be on set and make those connections, because like I said, we're talking. And funnily enough, it was actually, I have an 18-month-old little girl, and he was telling me the premise of his short that he was going to be submitting to the competition. And he knows me personally anyway, but I was like, and they needed a baby for it, and I was like, well, I have a baby you can use. And he was like, that would be great if we can do that, because now I don't have to try to find one. I was like, yeah, I mean, as long as it's written for a girl, because she definitely already has her ears pierced. He was like, it is. We need a baby girl. I said, I got you. So my baby is going to be making her first film debut as well.
It's awesome. Teaching her early, right? To follow in
Yes,
mom's
yes.
footsteps, right?
But she's too cute to not at least try it. Plus, I'm like, and there was no way my family could have known, because like I said, none of them were really looking to take this avenue as a career path. But I'm just like, the earlier I can start her, is I would rather her later in life say, hey mom, I don't want to do this, than her try to get into it later, if that makes sense. Like, I think it will be easier for her if people see her name now while she's young and continue to see it as she gets older, because it'll be easier to take it away than it will be to make it appear.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, you're spot on. Part of me wishes I would have started in stand up and doing comedy and more improv things when I was in college than waiting till a year after I graduated college to pursue comedy as a full-time career. And that would be my message to anybody. If you have a thought in your head about wanting to do something, go out and do it and try it when you're
Yeah.
young, because you don't want to look back and think, oh, well, what if I would have done it? Well, you know what I mean? So don't have the what ifs and just go for it. If you have a dream, chase it. I mean,
Yes.
it's not going to be the easiest road, but it will be a fun road.
Yeah. And there's also a lot of self-discovery within doing that as well. Just kind of jumping in and going after your dreams, because sometimes you find maybe it's not what you actually want to do. Maybe you jump in and you're like, this is exactly where I'm supposed to be. Um, but especially doing things like what you and I are passionate about, I would advise you to try to keep the negativity to a minimum, because there's for every one person that's going to be positive with you about your passion, there's probably five that want to try to tear you down before you've even made something of yourself. So I, for me personally, that has really pushed me to be very self-motivated to be able to keep going, and not even necessarily from a standpoint of, oh, well, I'll show you, but more so like, if you're saying that to me, you clearly don't understand my passion. You have something in your life that you feel that passionately about, and I'm not sitting here saying the same thing to you about that. So but we have to be able to set those boundaries with people as well, because I've boundaries is something I've really been working on, for me personally. And so I found that once I've started setting those boundaries up and don't allow people to say those things, whether it's by not acknowledging it or saying, hey, I'm not accepting what you're saying into my life, is that it dwindles down
Yeah,
as far as them being negative about it. So
I, I I could say that I used to get so mad when people would comment on my videos of my jokes when I was first starting out. Like, oh God, you're so not funny. That literally was a comment. You are so not funny. That was the entire comment. And I used to read them all and get upset with myself, like, oh well, maybe now, well, what was wrong with that joke? I mean, everybody there was laughing. Why? And then I was like, wait a minute, this is one person. I just told this joke to a room full of strangers and they all laughed. But this one
yeah.
person on the internet, now I'm not going to let him room. And now I just look at them and I laugh because
Yeah.
one person actually commented on my YouTube and it literally just said, boo. They booed me through a comment. And I was just like, what? Why did you waste your time to?
Well, I feel like bullies on the internet run rampant, and it's like everybody seems to be brave behind their computer screen. And I'm just like, if we could all say nicer things to each other, whether we know each other or not, everybody would be in a more positive place, thus making it a more positive world for everybody.
I agree.
Instead of just constantly trying to knock each other down.
Yeah, the keyboard warriors, as I call them, are getting out of control. And it's funny to me because I used to respond to them, but now I just, like I said, I just look at them and laugh. And I just think like, wow, if you grew up when I grow up, wow, English, yeah. When growed up, yeah. If you grew up when I growed up, oh my God. If you grew up in the time that I did, you would have had to say that to somebody's face. And
Mm-hmm.
being a guy, I would have got blasted right in the face if I would have said that to somebody. But at the end of the day, we would have shook hands and walked away. I mean, I have a buddy of mine. We talk so much crap to each other when we see each other. And at one point, it got a little out of hand. We ended up punching each other in the face. We hugged after it and went and got a beer. Like that was the end of the argument. Like, and these keyboard warriors are just to the point where they're like, oh, well, I'm just going to say this. And now, now I feel better about myself, but I don't have to see this person. So I'm fine. And one thing I will warn them about is your information is all over the internet if you've made an account on anything. So maybe watch who you're saying stuff to
Yeah.
because it can be found. And it's just, I don't understand them. I don't. But we are running down. I could feel like I could talk to you all day. We are running down near the end of the episode here. And I wanted to get this in here because my wonderful manager of the show, the Ride Home Rants podcast, not Steve Joyner, but John Fitty Falcone, guy I've known since college, came up with this segment that we like to do at the end of every episode, and it's called
Oh,
the Fast Fitty Five. Five
okay.
random questions from Fitty, and the kind of rapid fire. I don't like to tell people that. I know you're looking at me like, well, you never said what is going on. I don't like to mention this because I like to see their faces when they see these questions and hear these questions, because they're the most random things I have ever seen in my life, and they're getting more and more random.
Well, I'm ready.
All right. So, question number one. If you couldn't be an English teacher or actress, what would you be doing?
Um, I would be a spiritual life coach. And in fact, I'm in a course to be able to do that as well. Like I said, I've been doing a lot of personal growth here recently and decided that that was kind of calling to me as well. So hoping to eventually move to that being my day job. And helping people be more positive. Like I said, putting more of that positivity out into the universe.
Perfect. And I'm going to tell you that's the most normal question he's put on this. Second one, cannolis, overrated or underrated?
Underrated. I love cannolis.
I don't I don't know who doesn't. That cannolis are just amazing. Uh, best place you've gotten to visit for your acting career and why?
Ooh, best place I've gotten to visit for my acting career. Um, I would say honestly would be here in the DFW area because it's helped me discover places that I didn't know were around, whether it's some place that I actually filmed on location or even just places driving by when I was on my way somewhere. But yeah, just kind of helping me get to know the city that I'm in.
Okay. Question number 4. What is the best season, spring or winter?
Ooh, I would probably have to say winter. And I think I say that because here in Texas, we don't get much of a winter. And in fact, it's November, and our definition of a winter here is to just have all four seasons in one day. Um, so like it was 40 something degrees out this morning, and I went out and walked my dogs earlier, and it was 57 degrees, and it's supposed to get up to 70 today. And then it will go back downhill from there. So I have a deep appreciation for the winter because we don't get much of it.
Oh, to be where you're at right now. It was 21 degrees this morning when I woke up here in Ohio.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, yeah. Oh, 50 degrees. I'd be in heaven. Question number 5. And dear God, I'm going to try not to laugh when I read this question.
Okay.
Who was the better Sesame Street character, Big Bird or Elmo?
I was not ever really big into Sesame Street, but I have to go with Big Bird.
Everybody says,
I and I I had several Big Bird stuffed animals when I was growing up, and when I was in college, I babysat for a family whose daughter liked to watch Sesame Street, so I've seen a little bit of it. But quite frankly, I if it were up to me, neither one of those even stands because Cookie Monster and Oscar the Grouch are where it's really at.
that was the best way to end that segment. It's just, no, the two you said, no.
I don't like having my options limited.
Some of the questions that he comes up with, it blows my mind to see where this man's mind is at half the time, and it makes me laugh every time, and they're getting more and more random.
Do you get new questions for every guest?
Yep.
Okay.
He I will say though, he has some sort of infatuation with Big Bird. because for every man that I've interviewed and been on the show, he asked the same question: is if you could be anybody, if you could be, who would you rather be, Larry Bird or Big Bird? And it's just Big Bird seems to be popping up a lot in these questions. I don't know what's going on, but it's definitely entertaining to me. But yeah, everybody gets a new set of questions, and this is what he does. He sits and he thinks of random questions, and
Maybe
why we
there's something like truly yellow that always reminds him of Big Bird that's somewhere around his computer. So that's what always makes him think of Big Bird.
something, I don't know, because he's always in his car. He's always going. He's always traveling for his job that he does too as well. So I don't know. It's
That's funny.
so
Of
random.
all things, Big Bird.
Big Bird. Big Bird's where he's at. But so, like I said, we are running down near the end of the episode. I give every guest this opportunity to as well. So the last minute here, anything you want to promote, any message you want to get out there, the floor is yours, Ashlie.
Yeah, you can find me on Instagram at Ashlie Lawson Actress, and that's ASHLIE. You can also visit my website, ashlielawson.com. These fun demo reels, pictures, behind the scenes pictures, as well as some clips from some of my previous work. You can also find me on IMDb at Ashlie Lawson as well, and on Facebook at Ashlie Lawson. So I'm everywhere except Twitter. I don't tweet.
Don't tweet.
No. I was into it in college, and then it was like when I graduated, it just I don't know. I don't vibe well with Twitter.
I I use Twitter a lot. I can't say that I that I don't tweet because
A lot of people do, and I don't begrudge people that have it. I mean, I even have an account on there, but I don't ever do anything on it.
yeah, well, it is what it is. Because I mean, like I said, I sometimes some of the thoughts in my head when I'm home by myself need to go somewhere, and I figured the internet should be a good place to put those sometimes. Put it all over Twitter. But that is going to do it for this week's episode of the Ride Home Rants podcast. Ashlie, I want to thank you for being on. This was a blast talking to you and hearing your story and everything like that. And a lot of positive messages, which I'm so glad we had those in here. I try to at least have a couple positive messages into every show because, like you said, we need to spread positivity, people. And if I could talk today, that would be great. But that's good to do it. Once again, thank you, Ashlie. As always, if you like the show, be a friend, tell a friend. If you didn't like the show, tell them anyways. They might like it just because you didn't. That's going to do it, and I will see y'all next week.